We all long for purpose in our lives, for achievements, for conquering, for leveling up. Sometimes that process can leave us feeling stuck or dissatisfied with ourselves or the life that we live. I have been through, I wouldn't even want to say a lot this year, to be honest. I would say it's been a relatively good year for the most part. I've been taking care of myself physically. I'm in the best shape of my life, and quite frankly, it's not close. I also am making more money than I ever have, but in some ways, me being just this 23-year-old, even though you want to say this 23-year-old man, there's a lot of people who would look at a 23-year-old and say that's just a kid. And I will admit that there still are ways in which I am a kid. It's interesting how this comes full circle. I was sitting in my car last night just thinking about life. I do that sometimes. I'll just go to an empty parking lot at night just by myself and just let all my thoughts out. I'm not writing or talking in a video like this, which I'll do sometimes. I'm just there with myself and having that conversation. In reflecting back in a period of my life where I was really struggling, it's kind of interesting how there are many parallels to this current point in time. When I was about 15 years old, I found out that my dad came down with cancer, and it was in the early stages. So it wasn't something where his life was all of a sudden on the line. But me being this 15-year-old kid, hearing my dad had gotten cancer and all these things, he was now sick, I was unsure exactly how to feel. There was also this girl I had a crush on at the time, and I really liked talking, like I needed to talk to her. I had that thing growing up of being a little bit clingy. I'm not gonna lie, I just, that was how I was with girls. And the thing is, I was very shy, so a lot of our conversations would be held over text. I would still talk to her occasionally in person, but it was a lot of conversation over text. During that time, my grades had started to fall a little bit because there were a lot of mixed feelings that I was undergoing. For one, like I said, it was my dad dealing with the sickness. I had a lot that I hadn't really felt before in terms of anxiety and stress and the fear of the unknown. I grew up very much in a fortunate, stable condition and situation and environment to where I had never really known the darkness to the world, and that can be so dangerous as a child when you don't experience that, or at least when you're not made aware to it. Obviously I said my dad, and because of that, because of my priorities with a girl, right, I wasn't focused that much on my academics, so my grades started to drop, and eventually got to a point where my parents were wanting to take my phone away, and so that's what they ultimately decided to do. There I was, not being able to text this girl I liked anymore, right? And so what my therapy was at this time was baseball. I grew up playing baseball. I was always a sporty type of person that just wanted to be active. I just needed to be active somehow. And I was in love with baseball at the time. It was literally that, everything that I loved. I wanted to go to the major leagues, that the dreams we have growing up, right? I want to be a astronaut, an NFL star, all this stuff. And I was playing a lot, but because of my low grades, I was cut from the high school team. And so now the one thing that I had left, that it seemed, was also stripped from me. My dad was sick. I couldn't talk to the girl that I liked, or at least I could, but me being this shy person, I couldn't just text her at night. And also I couldn't play baseball anymore. And there were so many mixed feelings at that time. And what I would consider it as, by the way, at this time, I even went to self-harm. I cut my wrists a few times. And, I'm not ashamed to admit that. I've admitted that before. And it's just kind of a scar that I had at that time, even though it's something I think I could definitely handle a lot better if those circumstances are similar a similar scenario were to play out, it was a lot at that time for me to deal with, being this very naive 15-year-old kid to the dangers of the world. And so I resorted to self-harm. And what I would mark this period of time in my life was, and this is kind of a realization that I actually came to last night, was sort of the transition from childhood into adolescence, into, okay, you're still not this responsible, adult that is completely, like I said, accountable and responsible for himself, but you're also no longer a child. You're feeling a lot of feelings that you have never encountered before. And that's not just for those things that I mentioned that I was going through, but also puberty. And now no longer just being this infant child that believes in Santa Claus and, all this magical and the toys and all this. Like, now it's like I said, girls and video games or sports and high school drama and all that stuff, man. And so it was a lot to deal with. And why I say it's interesting how it comes full circle is because my dad is kind of sick right now. And he's dealing with like anxiety and having trouble with panic attacks and breathing, and he's been in bed a lot. I obviously want to do everything I can to support him because he's raised me into who I am today, and I feel like I owe it to him. But with him feeling that way, it's obviously going to create some level of natural, I suppose, fear and anxiety in me as well. It's interesting because I've been feeling pretty good this year for the most part. I've had a good year, but now, at least the past month, maybe 2 months or a month and a half, I don't know exactly, but there's been sort of just this gray cloud of a feeling of something that's just wrong, not there. I feel part of it is my lack of initiative. I work hard with what I do, but for some reason, I feel as if I don't believe in my own abilities enough, in my own capabilities to go out and take responsibility, to do little things like going to the grocery store, like planning a fun time with friends, like going and joining a class of some sort. What class that might be, I don't know, maybe like something such as yoga. That is something I've really thought about and pondered about joining. But it feels like, for some reason, that drive and that ability to take initiative and just do it, or face or conquer that fear, whatever the fear might be, is not there. It hasn't happened yet. And what fear is that? Well, I've always been a little bit socially awkward and shy, and in terms of my physical exertion with what I'm doing with my life, in terms of my financial direction, in terms of my mindset, I do feel like I am a man, or at least very much on a good path to becoming a man, but my social abilities and my initiative and my accountability and saying, I gotta do this, I gotta be willing to take these steps, is still lacking. It's still something that hasn't truly developed. And the reason why, it's not just because of what's going on with my dad, but the reason why I say it's a parallel from now into that time when I was a teenager is because it feels like this big transformation that I'm going through. It feels like something in me is arising, but simultaneously there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, darkness that I'm having to encounter right now. And it's been heavy. The last week I've felt very insecure. I felt very anxious, empty, void of any feeling of necessarily, I don't want to say hope, but like confidence, optimism. It's also somewhat of an existential crisis. Back during that time, to reflect back when I was a teenager and in high school, like going through all of that I mentioned, it really felt like one of the most challenging parts of my life. At that time, it was easily the most challenging time of my life. And like I said, I didn't know how to handle it, but over time, my dad got better. I was able to play baseball again. I got my grades up, and I eventually was no longer talking to that girl. And so things kind of just played out properly. Now, that doesn't always happen to be a guarantee. The difference now is that I'm not just an adolescent. Well, in some ways I am, but it's this transformation into adulthood, right? That previous time was like the transition from childhood to adolescence. This one's from adolescence to adulthood. The night is darkest before dawn, and sometimes you have to face the deepest levels to your own fear, anxiety, and conquer something deeply rooted within you. A lot of it is internal. 90% of our lives are mental or internal, or how we perceive everything around us. And so now the question lies in the sense of, what am I going to do about it? I'm a man. I'm 23. Like I said, some people might view that as, oh, you're still just a young kid figuring things out. And I understand that. But I truly want to live my life to the fullest in so many ways. And I understand that I'm not going to be perfect. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. There's going to be a lot of growing pains. And it's going to be challenging. But I truly feel this burning passion to genuinely conquer. Like, I've been afraid of going out into the world. And you know what? If I don't have anything to do on a Saturday night, why don't I go watch a movie? Oh, I spend so much time inside. I don't take the initiative to go buy groceries if my parents are busy or something. Or cook. Or make plans with people. And this is something that has plagued me a big time in my life. Of just doing, man. Of just saying, you know what? Screw it. I always like to compare things to a figurative aspect of life. And throughout a large part of my life, a big fear of mine has been spiders. Now, I know that's very common, arachnophobia. It's definitely not unforeseen in this world. Many people have it and deal with it. But I almost have viewed it through the lens of the spider represents some form of fear, chaos in my life, something that I am scared to face or confront. I think it's not necessarily the fear of something that is dark and evil per se. It's the fear of your own light. It's the fear of what you actually can do if you just go ahead and go about doing it and go out there. Because a lot of times our goals, our problems, are the things that we aren't doing. The only thing it takes is literal just action, just putting yourself out there. So it's like figuratively, but like facing that spider that I've feared for so long. And you say, well, what is it exactly that I'm fearing? Well, when I go out, and I'm around people, it's like I feel like I have to be in my shell. Like I can't open up and just be myself. And again, this isn't something that's uncommon, but I'm trying to really transform and take that next step and be a man about it. Be brave, be courageous, face the fear. Willingly get rejected, willingly look like a fool if it means that these skills can improve, that I can be better, that I can maybe be the best man I can possibly be for my own family one day. And these words are very important. These realizations, these epiphanies are vital, but it's not going to mean anything if I don't take action. I've got to take action and do something about it. That's what I'm realizing. And it's a lot of correlations to that period of time in my life where it felt like a lot of things were all over the place. It was just chaotic, and I didn't know what to do or how to handle those feelings. I'm much older and wiser now, and I know how to handle these feelings, right? But what am I going to do about it? Because the responsibility now falls on my shoulders to actually take that initiative. Back then, it was almost a blessing that certain things just played out in the manner that they did. And it's on me. It always comes down to me. I'm a very capable man. I'm fine. I can do what I need to do. I can do what I want to do. All right? I need to stop being such a wimp, whatever the word is, man. I need to stop doing that. But in order to do so, I have to, like I said, be the amateur and go up and talk to that girl and get rejected and make a fool out of myself so that I know what to do moving forward. Like, it's the growing pains. You have to be the fool, man. In anything you do, you have to first start out as the amateur, as the one who's just a complete idiot, who doesn't know what he's doing. And it's time that I really start taking those next steps in my life. I really would love to experience some form of intimate connection in a relationship, you know? And I know that I'm very capable. I know I'm very capable, and you can never question whether or not you're capable. I used to fear driving big time. Actually, just recently, to be honest, within the past couple of years, it was a big fear of mine to drive on the highway or unforeseen territory. I dreaded it. It was just so petrifying to me because it was something that I hadn't done, and therefore I was afraid. But you get out there on the road and realize, hey man, I'm a human like everybody else out here. I'm very capable of doing this. A lot of life is truly proving to yourself and realizing, damn, I'm no less worthy nor capable than anybody else in this world. If there's something I want, I have to go get it. You know, I've got to be the one to go and get it. There's no excuses. I also find an importance in the faith in the universe, and consciousness, and God, a higher power, that there are a lot of aspects and facets to my life or life itself that are out of my control. I understand that. And that is why I feel it's very important to count your blessings, to remain grateful, to try and be a good person, right? Just be kind, be a good human being. But there's a lot in life that you have to go out and actually do. And I don't think I've done enough of that lately. I think I've sat back and delved into comfort too much. And I'm just going to be honest about that. It's time for me to level up and really make that leap, that transformation, and not just keep talking about it, but doing it. I just did a little bit of yoga today, just in my room. But I'm thinking about, why not try and go join a class, do something more social, get myself more socially engaged and develop those skills, develop that side of myself. Like I said, I would love to start doing things even just by myself sometimes. Like, screw it, why not just go to a movie? Why not just go to a restaurant on a Saturday night? Like, I love doing things by myself, but I never do them. I never do them. Because I've never been the one to lead these sort of activities. And I've got to do that. I've got to conquer that fear. I've got to willingly put myself in those situations. It's a lot. It hasn't always been easy, but I feel like it's for the best. And I know it's for the best. I love facing the challenges. Every year, every time I go through it, feeling myself in an anxious state, in a difficult state of mind, I feel like I can really take that and use it as fuel and passion towards whatever it is that I'm after. In 2021, a large part of my goal was to open up about my sexuality and my sexual struggles and my addiction to porn, to just my friends, the people around me, and even on this channel, and just be more honest about a lot of that stuff to my friends and family. And last year in 2022, it was to get a job. I needed to start making money. This year, a lot of it's been physical improvement, being willing to work out every day, or even if I'm not wanting to, just doing it and staying disciplined. But at the same time, a big goal that I had coming into the year was to enhance my social skills, to get out there, to be willing to take those risks with people more frequently and go up and talk to that girl or plan that trip with a friend. Just go out and watch a movie. Go out and do stuff that's more social that'll help me. Take initiative on things. And I haven't done that. We're here in September and I haven't committed to that. I don't want to discredit myself for the things that I have done, right? I'm not saying that we have to do that. Like I feel it's important to validate the things that I have done and the things that we do as human beings. But at the same time, when you set out for a goal and you aren't doing anything to pursue it, it kind of leaves you questioning yourself a little bit. There's still time in the year for me to go out and make things happen. And I got to do it, and I will do it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you as always for tuning in. Much love, good vibes as always. Love you guys. And Will from PSYCHONAUT Visions signing out.